we've seen that these personalization and automation mechanisms for dealing with information superabundance can, in effect, create a horizon in an information environment based upon someone's preferences, someone's associates, and not based on information that would be useful to them or is accurate or is the sort of thing that they ought to be confronted with to be made aware of alternative perspectives. The combination of personalization and automation within the context of social media also brings social cognition into account in a way that is potentially dangerous. Popularity becomes one of the mechanisms for crowdsourcing quality, for determining what sort of information gets propagated through a system and influencing people's perception of the information itself. And this, in turn, has been exploited by the manufacture of popularity. So it's estimated that Twitter has about 48 million automated accounts. About 8%, at least a few years ago, of Instagram accounts were automated bots. Facebook was said to have about 60 million automated accounts. And one of the uses of these accounts is to create a perception that people have a wider popularity, that they're more highly regarded by society at large, that more people are interested in what they say or do than is actually true. And this has both political and economic consequences. Social media influencers can earn a significant amount of money if they have a large enough following. If they can be paid by companies to write favorably about something, recommend something, endorse something, so on, and they get money for that. And so one of the phenomena that you see in the last few years is this rise of people who are buying automated or fake accounts in order to give the perception that they are social media influencers, or that they are popular or respected, or that their word is trusted by millions of people. So an example of this, right, is 4% of the retweets of Donald Trump tweets during the 2016 election were in fact not by human beings at all. They were retweets by Russian bots, by automated programs that retweeted what he said. This gave the impression that more people were following Donald Trump, were approving of what Donald Trump said, thought what Donald Trump said was relevant for other people, and so on. So the popularity aspect, the social cognition aspect of this can't be dismissed. Another interesting phenomenon is that this combination of automated delivery of information, of personalization algorithms, and tying them into social media platforms creates the potential for what Curran and Sustein call availability cascades. And they tell us that an availability cascade is a self-reinforcing process of collective belief formation by which an expressed perception triggers a chain reaction that gives the perception increasing plausibility through its rising availability in public discourse. The driving mechanism involves a combination of informational and reputational motives. Individuals endorse the perception partly by learning from the apparent beliefs of others, and partly by distorting their public responses in the interest of maintaining social acceptance. So the idea here is that we've created these mechanisms for propagating information. We've tied them into our social media networks, and we've used those mechanisms in a way that is highly personalized in nature, so that people get information that the mechanisms predict they'll want to hear, that reinforces what they want to believe, that gives them the impression that all the people they know believe the same thing, or that everyone believes the same thing. And this combination of things creates these availability cascades. Now, availability cascades don't necessarily have to be a bad thing. So if someone discovers a cure for cancer, or someone discovers a vaccine for Ebola, then an availability cascade could propagate that information through social media networks to the individuals who are most likely to need or want that information. And that would be fantastic. Right? The thing is these mechanisms are indifferent to intent or quality of information, or whether or not the propagation is being caused by bots or by actual individuals. So one of the examples that I've got up here on the left is a tweet by then campaign manager Corey Lewandowski during the 2016 election. And he retweeted a story that he seemed to think came from ABC News. This is, in fact, a fraudulent news story created by a counterfeit news individual that we'll talk about in just a bit. So completely made up this idea that people were being paid to protest at Trump rallies, but propagated through social media, retweeted by individuals, given the impression that there's real evidence for this, that people know that this is the case. Another example is the picture here on the right. This gentleman was getting information from his social media news feeds that told him that Hillary Clinton was running a child pornography ring out of the basement of a pizza joint in Washington, D.C. Now, he went to investigate this, went armed with automatic weapons, and of course, as you can see, he's in the process of being arrested as a result. Excuse me. So, availability cascades are neither good nor bad in and of themselves. They are the result of combining automation, personalization, and social networks. Their potential for being damaging to people's epistemic situation is that they are indifferent to the motives of the propagators, whether or not the propagators are actually human beings, and whether or not the information is good or bad information. So we'll want to look at this a little more closely in the next module before we turn to so-called fake news.